Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. It's Thursday. I'm Peter Martin and Alan Ruff, as ever, with me with Tam Cowan on this Thursday. Hard to believe it's Tam's first appearance of the year, but it's safe enough for you to come in, and it's good to have you here for a new year. We hope will be packed full of fans and more than a few things to talk about, Tam.
Absolutely, and it's great to be back for a Scottish Cup weekend. That's brilliant. Starting tonight, Hibs against Cove Rangers. Would you reckon a wee banana skin there, maybe?
Well, certainly the potential. He's built up a good team. He's just signed Mark Reynolds from Dundee United as well. So Paul Hartley will be thinking to himself, you know, we maybe could cause them a wee shock.
Yep, and right through the weekend, and then joy of joys, Motherwell against Morton on Saturday, which Dougie Emery tells me Motherwell win 3-0.
There was a slight delay there until I realised that there's about 10 of them all.
You know what I'm going to come out and, Motherwell fans love to hate Dougie Emery, right? Dougie used to torture us when he was at Hamilton. He was fond of scoring a wee goal, or if it was one of his teammates, he loved getting a wind up, particularly with the young team at Motherwell, But I am absolutely coming out in defence of him, and indeed all 14 people for the Scottish football fraternity who get caught up in this so-called betting outrage. I think you agree, and I think Ruffy agrees with me. See if you're betting against your own team, you're betting your own team to lose, which is heinous, absolutely outrageous. Then kick them out the game. Don't give them a rap or the knuckles or a fine. But if it's somebody like Dougie Emery sitting on the couch in the middle of the week, maybe wanting a correct score last night on Brentford against Man United, what is the issue there? It's ridiculous.
I mean, listen, it's they've taken a kind of a really zero tolerance towards it, and I don't think they're willing to even give any kind of leeway to people who are in sport.
I mean, things have changed so much through the years. I clearly remember in the 1970s that most of the players at 2:30, this is half an hour before the game starts, were in the snooker room watching the racing on the telly. That's how bad it was away back then. But I know it is cleaned up now. And, Tam's right, it just, if you get caught with it, people just surmise you are maybe sometimes betting against your team. But if they prove that they haven't done, then they'll get punished.
Well, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, even in the 70s, if you were betting against your team, it would be absolutely bang out of order. But the other thing about it as well is, and I think it's something that it's probably pertinent to this as well to mention about the whole gambling affair. I think the reason why there's a kind of a strict view on this is because some footballers, Tam, have found it very difficult to deal with it in their lives, as have your everyday common man or woman who...
Absolutely. I kind of direct experience of that, chatting to and having them on our programme, and seeing him a few times at Fir Park, big Kevin Twaddle. Who lost absolute fortunes. His life was turned upside down. He wrote a very, very good book, cataloguing all that. But it does cause people problems. But I still don't think then you can jump from that to the example that I gave there about if there's any one of those 14 guys wanting a £3 on a coupon on a Saturday. I can't see the harm in it at all. And it's I don't know how MD and the authority, Scottish Football Authorities, the SFA, the SPFL, can even keep a straight face when they're talking about this, because it seems everything is backed and sponsored by a gambling company these days, so calm down.
Absolutely. What are you going to say, Rob?
No, I had a favourite story. Not a favourite betting story. When I was playing with Hibs, we got to the semi-final, I think it was the League Cup against Aberdeen, and when we all met up in the afternoon, I think it was Jackie McNamara said, "We're 92 the night. Fantastic price. Why don't we all chip in 20 quid? We said, fire away. So we all chipped in 20 quid.
What year was this? Because 20 quid, that
No, that was about 1983 or something like that.
Tasty,
So we were about 200, just say 200 quid. So he says, you go and put it on. So I went and put it on, 92, 200 quid. First half of the game, I threw 2 in the back of the net. Came into the dressing room, I swear, and we were all sitting. Jackie McNamara, the team talk was going on at half time. Jackie McNamara leans in and he goes, "Shows that betting slip."
And the way things are going in life now, Tam, somebody will retrospectively call for Ruffy to be arrested.
Absolutely.
It's only a matter of time.
My nightmare one with that was, did I tell you this before, when John McCruddick gave me the horse to bet?
No.
We had them on the late, I'm going to say great John McCrary. He was a great character.
Absolutely.
You'll never see him like him again. And when we had him on the old telly show Offside, there was a lot of folks saying, oh, this guy's a bit... And I said, no, he'll be a great guest because he everything about him. The big kind of ball bag guy, the big loud guy and in your face and all that, you know. So to cut a long story short, we got him live on the show to give us a horse for the morning. Now, he wasn't a tipster or anything like that, you know. He was a man that was involved with all the betting stuff, you know. Yeah. But it was in keeping with him as a guest. We thought, John, when we're out in the show, I'm going to whip out the Evening Times with tomorrow's race cards and if you could pick us out a horse, you know what I mean? All right, no worries, Tam, no worries. So he picked us out a horse and we finished the show. John went away. He was getting a late flight back down the road. And I went in, I'll not name the person, but we had a member of the football fraternity who was the other guest on the show that night.
Right.
And we went back into the green room after it, having a wee drink and all that, you know. And this gentleman says to me, are you going to bet that horse? And I'd almost forgotten about it already. It was just a wee bit of fun today, John. I says, he says, oh, bet it, Tam. I said, what do you mean? He says, when McCrarick, when you saw him before the show and then went in to do the wee rehearsal and that, he was never off the phone. He was trying to get a horse for the morrow because as much as he's perceived as a big idiot and all that, he was clearly wanting to get this right to show that he had a wee bit about him, you know. So he says, I heard them on there to jockeys, trainers, the lot. Think of the contacts that he must have had in his phone, you know.
Absolutely.
So said gentleman from the world of Scottish football, right? He says, oh, I'm backing it, I'm backing it. So anyway, the horse was called. When I said to McCrary on the show, what, you got a horse for us then? Johnny came out and he looked about and he played it very well. All right, okay, right, Tam. He says, I wish in the 140 tomorrow at Lingfield. I wish. That was the name of the horse, right? So I again had a wee drink after the show on the Monday night. I'll never forget this. Tuesday I'm sitting there in the house in Motherwell, sitting writing my column for the paper on the Wednesday, and it suddenly came into me, that horse. Looked at the watch, right? Had about 10 minutes to spare. So you know where I used to live, and you'll know the bookies, not there now, sadly, next to the Burns Tavern in Motherwell, just next to Wee Mary's Chinese. It was brilliant. And I bolted up there, Peter. Now, all I put was a very, very modest wager on this horse. It was 72. It was the second favourite out of 7 runners. 72, I wish.
What year was this?
And this would have been 2004. Right? And all I had on it, kid you not, 20 quid. It was just because he'd say it, right? And 20 quid, that'll do me, you know. Last, right? 1 week later, I go into Hamilton races, right? And as I walk into Hamilton race, that line you walk round and then you look up at the grandstand kind of thing, right? At the bottom of these steps, where a lot of folk hang about, right? Just to walk in. The gentleman who had been the guest with Big John McCrarick, I could see his face nearly tripping him 50 yards away. And I'm looking at him, his face, he was scowling, you know. And I thought, oh, this was only 1 week later. Yeah. So I went up and I said to him, I says, did you bet it? He says, did I bet it? And he was like, you could barely say the words. Yeah. Guess how much you had on it? This gentleman from the Scottish football fraternity.
1,000?
10 grand.
No way.
10 grand. He liked to gamble. 10 grand.
It was last.
10 grand and it was last. 72. He's thinking it was easy money. He thought that was him made.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
And you probably haven't put a lot of thought into it, but you know that part where most people think YouTube, John McCrarick guest with Tom Cowan.
No, that's come up already. That's come up already. It didn't survive the archive, shall we say. Oh, dearie me. Some man, Super Ali.
That was outrageous.
No, it wasn't coist. I was just trying to think who's known for like, enjoying a wee day at the races. I don't think Ali is a gambler, is he?
He's not really.
Who are the big ones for the football world? When you could do it, Ruffy.
I don't mean gamblers. I know
into the horses and all that.
I could tell you an Ali Bazil story, but Ali Bazil, who had a full book of trainers, jockeys, horses, every morning he would look at them up and pick a horse and phone the trainer, phone the hangman and phone the horses that were racing against the horses, the trainers, and thing with them all up. And he was actually quite successful. And we were playing Northern Ireland in a World Cup qualifier in Belfast. And when you've nothing to do, the gambling boys used to sit in the room and just have a bet.
Aye.
And it came to notice that Ali had lost 5 grand on the afternoon of the actual game. So we're all standing in the halfway line at Belfast.
That day.
We're all standing in the halfway line at Belfast, and Jock Stein comes out. He goes, before I start, I think, I need to have a word with you, Ali. So he pulls Ali Brazil out and he says, do you think that the preparation for a World Cup qualifier is betting and gambling and losing £5,000 in the afternoon of a match? And he went, I won 10 grand yesterday.
was the late Jock Stein, he was playing a bet as well, wasn't he?
Aye, him and the bookie boy were best friends. Can't remember his name off the top of my head.
I think the only problem now, and probably because it's more reported and well reported, is the fact that you can get a bet on anything these days, so it becomes a situation when you do it to excess, it's a nightmare. I mean, you know me, Ruffy, tight as a drum when it comes to gambling, but we went as guests of our sponsors of the programme, Indigo Communications.
Oh, that's a great story.
This is a great story because we went to Hamilton Races, which is fantastic. Vivian and the team do a great job down at Hamilton Races. We went down there. And I would not, I'm working hard for the week. You're good. So we all agreed to do a £5, right? So the only reason I picked this horse was because it was actually trained by K. Dalgleish. So I put a £5 on it, 80 to 1 time at Rompton.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
And we were as high as a kite, Ruffy.
No, you were. we were all gutted because we had the second horse.
I was cordially invited that night if I couldn't make it.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't beat a night at the Hamilton Races. It's brilliant.
You love that, but I always worry about people. And Kevin, who's a friend of mine from Edinburgh, my Edinburgh days, Kevin Twaddle, I must admit that's the type of thing where you really do have to take particular care. I'm going to mention a few people who obviously come on the show and say hello to us. Thanks very much to Shane, Lee, Stuart Ramsey, always listens in from the West Midlands, Michael, Paul and Nicky Twig, who always likes to throw us a wee message just to say hello. So thank you to so many people who have mentioned to us that they watch the show on a regular basis. And one of them actually said to me the other day, they sent us an email. My name is Sean Cunningham. I'm originally from Ardrossan. I'm 59. I've been living in Australia for 30 years. I've been a journalist for 20 years and I watch the programme at 7 o'clock every morning. And I follow Celtic and Kilmarnock as well. So Sean, great that you follow us and thank you very much for your support and your email as well. And he sent us some lovely pictures of his man cave. Which I think so many people are doing that now. They're actually transforming a spare room, Ruffy, or building the hut out the back where they put up all their favourite teams' posters and some of them even get a wee bar involved in it all.
Yeah, I've got a guy at our golf club who I'll openly admit it, and I'll even name him, Ian Fulton is a big Celtic fan and he's converted his garage into a memorabilia of everything. And I think if you're a Rangers supporter or a Thistle supporter, whatever you are, that's great. You can do something like that. It's brilliant. Something you can bring your pals into and if the game's on somewhere, you can go in and watch it and no, you're no bothering anybody.
Well, to be fair, I'm going to give him a mention. I take, I'm not in any way ashamed to mention this and give him a good bit of promo time. But the guy Alec Corey, who's a great lad, he's got his own company called Fanatical Furnishings. Made this for us and made the leather suite for our Kenny Dalgleish room. And what he does, he's a big Rangers fan, and he makes chairs, tables, frames with the shirts in them out of leather. And he's a majority of the stuff he's done is predominantly Rangers, which I kind of a highlight to him on a regular basis. Any chance of doing other teams, but he does all that stuff as well and makes it for people who want to build a bar off, which is great. This is brilliant for us.
Great promotion, this show the day. Is there any football on?
A big Scottish Cup weekend. Talking about gambling and couches.
That's what the boys just said to us. Any chance of getting to the football? Listen, that's all around football. I've got to ask you this.
It's not a bit. I'd advise though. I don't know if we're doing maybe Scotland get to Qatar, the World Cup. It's maybe not the couch for maybe wearing your kilt on. No, particularly if you've had a curry the night before. That's all I'm saying. Because other colours are available.
You'll burn it. That's a stonewall certainty. I've got to ask you this, Tam. You peeved a bit, Tony Watt?
No. The guys. I can't get over this. I mean, I can't claim to know Tony very well, but he's been on the radio waves, and when he was on the radio waves, I wished him well. It was when the murmurs were starting about him maybe moving on from Motherwell, but he's had a very nomadic lifestyle, as you know, about 13 clubs or whatever. Yeah. He won't have made any top money, I dare say, if you look at the list of the places he's been. And he's moved from Motherwell to Dundee United to, as far as I'm aware, treble his salary.
Yes.
And for any of the guys, some of my fellow Motherwell fans who maybe need to have a wee look at themselves, just a small minority, shall I say, if these guys were offered treble their wages, even if they were offered treble their wages to support another team, far less get into another job, move to another factory or an office.
I don't know anybody like that.
There's no chance that they're going to knock that back. So, and I think it was brilliant, and I knew it was going to happen. I'd get the wee kind of inside word on it when I had a wee Christmas lunch with some of the folk at Motherwell. He says, look, we're striving to get him out the door in January because they knew the situation. Tony Watt was scoring goals at Motherwell. He was running out to the Well boys in the East Stand. He was pointing at the pitch and all that as if this is me, I'm home, this is it, and all the rest of it. So there's no way that was ever going to continue if he hadn't moved to Dundee United there. There's no way he was going to stay at the club to the end of the year. But I wish him all the best. And clearly, when we play Dundee United in a couple of weeks, I clearly hope we absolutely pump them and he scores a hat trick of OGs. But you're allowed that, That's fine. You don't wish the man any bad.
See if he hadn't went.
Yes.
And he'd have stayed.
Yes.
We've seen the reaction that Souttar's getting. How do you think it would have been for him?
Well, that's we'll see. I mean, John Souttar's, I'm sure, having that he's been through, he's a mentally strong big laddie. I would imagine now that Hearts are, it's as if, never mind Rangers putting up the money to get him for Hearts, you almost think Hearts might put up the money to get rid of him now, because
Giovanni Van Bronckhorst just said he's not ruling anything out for signings, and I think he wouldn't rule out Souttar coming now.
No, I think that's going to be a no-brainer, but I'll tell you what, I'm sorry, there's absolutely no way that would ever go at the Hearts fans. I mean, the fans pay their money in good faith. There's a lot of the fans, we were a deluge of emails and texts about it on the radio last week when the story was very, very fresh. And I think that they were all pointing out was clearly all the injuries that John Souttar had and how Hearts and, directly then the Hearts fans who put the money into the club, and then some, as we've seen in recent years, how they stood by the boy. Yeah. And, so no, I'm not going to ever go to the Hearts fans if they chose to boo him. That's fine with me. It wasn't as if they did anything physical. There wasn't any stupidity about it. They booed the guy when he touched the ball. That's fine in my book.
I'm trying to think, Ruffy, of players who have been at a club and then obviously joined another club, and when they come back, I know what you're thinking right now, but when they come back to haunt them. My immediate one that I always think of is I can still hear Jerry McNee's commentary on the day Maurice Johnson scored and then ran over. I can remember Jerry saying he's run over, there's only a minute to go, he's run over and he's in cuddling the crowd. I can remember thinking, he's going to go down a storm when he comes back to Celtic Park, but if you're going to endear yourself to someone, that's the way to do it.
I think it was more like Hibs Hearts players.
Oh, Ralph Callan played for Hibs and Hearts.
And then you've got Kenny Miller.
Yeah.
As well.
Kenny Miller,
but, I mean, the Morris one was the...
Was there a Motherwell player apart from that?
Well, we had this bizarre one, not so much coming back to bite us, but it seemed crazy. Tommy Boyd, who of course lifted the cup for us in May the 18th, 1991, he gets his big move to Chelsea. Exactly a year later, in a swap deal with Tony Cascarino, there's a name, he's at Celtic. So the start of that season, one calendar year after lifting the cup for Motherwell, the only trophy that the vast majority of the people inside the ground that day, the Motherwell fans, had ever seen us winning. Tommy Boyd runs out as a Celtic player and is roundly booed. Boo everybody, boo! A year before he'd lifted that trophy, it was magnificent, but but you wouldn't have it any other way. As long as it's all kind of good-natured stuff, that's fine.
I love the fact that anybody who remembers, or a fan especially, will talk about getting to a final. If they win it, they remember the exact date. He started off by giving us the date, and then when Motherwell won the cup, do you remember the date that you won the League Cup with Thistle?
October the 23rd. I think
Was it right? Okay, that's good enough.
I think so.
You know what,
Or the
yeah.
25th. 23rd,
What I
25th.
can't do, so I've got pals that can do this, you've got fans, every club that can do this. I can't parrot fashion rattle out the cup winning team.
Oh, you
know how
can?
the way that Photo Day with the 67 Celtic team and that.
Yeah.
I've still got to pause and think who was playing where. You know, I'll get them all obviously, you know, but I can't just recite that, and I've certainly not got any tattoos or middle names or anything like that, you know.
Yeah.
I was thinking about my wee lassie.
I must admit that's something that I think fans do. Although I have heard a number of people, Andy Cameron, when we had him on the show, could rhyme off the 19,
Oh, he's great at all that.
1962 Rangers title-winning side. It was his favourite team. You know, bang, 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 and away he went. Yeah. Some people are able to do that, some are not. But it was just good and funny to hear you say that. Anyway, apart from anything else, there are Scottish Cup games to talk about, that we will talk about. Rangers manager Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has been talking today, just ahead of their game. He was talking about the fact that this is the transfer window where he's still hoping to bring players in. Where would you bring someone in, Ruffy, on the basis that, you know, Patterson doesn't really make a difference to his starting.
No, I think in all fairness to Rangers, he's got a lot of quality in there. You know, he's been left a lot of quality. He's got players for every position. I think the biggest doubt, and it's went a wee bit quiet now, is Goldson. You know, Goldson has been rumoured to be moving on, and he was like their player of the year last year. If he was to move before the end of the window, I definitely think he's got to get Suter. I mean, I know Hollander's coming back, but Suter for me would just finish that wee piece if he moves.
Yeah.
Midfield, they've got an abundance, and up front they've got an abundance. I know, and they seem to be getting a lot of people on loan, which is fair enough. They're not spending the hard cash the way Celtic are.
Yeah.
So it remains to be seen what kind of player you're going to get on loan.
I thought they missed Aribo the other night.
Oh, definitely.
I think Aribo, when he's got the ball, you actually think to yourself, not only can he get past a man, but he can do something just a wee bit different from some of the other midfielders.
Yeah, definitely. I think most of the Rangers supporters would agree to that. You know, he's got that wee bit special ability around about the 18-yard line. And when you've got a player like that in your team, other players respond to him around about him. So, yeah, he'll be hoping that there isn't a bid for him. You know, that's one thing. They wouldn't want to lose a player of that quality.
Yeah. I'll tell you another man they're going to lose. They're going to lose Morelos for the Old Firm game. I'm starting to look at this game and thinking it's getting devalued right, left and centre, Tom.
Well, that's a gamble when you bring in the foreign players, you know. If you're going to bring in these guys, for one, no matter, I don't have a dog in the race when it comes to the Old Firm game. But, you know, if you're going to bring in the Celtic, have done the Japanese guys, and if they can't feature in the game because of international commitments, and then Morelos as well, then fine, go on with it. The two of them have got big squads.
Yeah.
You know, I know that it's ever likely that a club like Motherwell would find themselves in the same scenario, because that's not the sort of player we go for, of course, and that's not our marketplace. But I would be saying the same thing as well. And again, we did get a warning that for Neil Doncaster and the SPFL, that when we did have that wee break, the extended break, bringing in the winter shutdown early, they said, right, there's no more leeway here. We just need to batter on and get the fixtures played. And that's the way it should be done. I mean, some of the stuff, you'll know a lot more about it, as much as I've tapped in recently to the English football, and particularly when the top flight in Scotland was off. Really enjoyed a lot of it. But some of the shenanigans that's clearly been going on down there.
Yeah, just injuries rather than COVID. Yeah,
exactly. Just get on with it up here.
I'll tell you the bad news, and the bad news for us, because I don't know about you, Ruffy, I enjoyed that wee break just to try and recharge the batteries. No break next year. The SPFL have just confirmed that it'll shut down for around a month next season, November, December, and that's because obviously Qatar, the World Cup, and it's tough for us. We'll need to get Jags, we'll need to obviously get our flight details. Tam will obviously want a certain kind of a standard of room if Scotland get there, you know. So and of course he's going to have to tell Liz he's going. so I mean, it'd be great. Wouldn't it be great, by the way?
Well, we know Hugh's booked his tickets already. Hugh's on the flight. Hugh's got the flight. He's booked his tickets.
So. Is he got a wee gig at it?
Oh, you know what Hugh's like. He probably will, but I think he's going with his son. It's one of those never to be forgotten times. You get a chance to go with your son to a World Cup.
The Sun newspaper?
No, his son.
Oh, his son. Right. I'm going right. Sorry. Right. Oh, so he's just going anyway, and if he does pick up a wee gig, well, son, that's good. What age is Hugh now?
He was 65, is he not? Is he? Right. Yeah. So, well, full marks to him. I mean, the last the World Cup where I travelled to it as a fan, and there's a boy here who always always mentions the last. He says, I wonder when you're going to mention him, but the last time I was at World Cup with a fan was me and Davy Moyes and his brother Kenny.
Lovely.
1990, Ruffy, Italy. Fantastic. I absolutely loved it.
I haven't been to one as a fan, so I'm really looking forward to it if we get there.
Fantastic. Anyway, apart from anything else, we're not getting a break, Ruffy, so don't book any holidays for God's sake, because we're going to be non-stop all the way through. What's your thoughts on Morelos possibly missing the game? People getting called up in international duty. Is that game devalued on February the 2nd? Do you think it's actually going to go ahead? You can give us your view on that as well. Okay, Scottish Cup, we've got to talk about it. Hibs, Cove Rangers. I think Hibs will edge it just by the odd goal. I noticed that their former manager, Jack Ross, was out today in the papers saying he felt as if, it was just too quick, the sack. It was unfair.
It was almost in the eve of the cup final, which did feel a wee bit strange. But bottom line is, I don't know, I mean, even putting your cynics hat on, is there any particular reason this story came out now? Is there anything behind it?
Well, sometimes managers actually, or anybody, players, whatever, once you go through a period of 2 or 3 weeks where you don't want to talk to anybody, you've got to raise your head. I mean, we didn't see Derek McInnes for a heck of a long time, and then all of a sudden he's on as a pundit in the BBC. You eventually get to that point, you think, okay, the pain of the sack is painful. Yeah. Now move on. Life's like that.
I think tonight, if I was trying to think in there, Paul Hartley, if I was the Cove Rangers manager tonight, I'd be reminding my players that, Sean Maloney is just in through the door. Hibs didn't look any great shakes in Monday.
Did you not think so?
I thought, no, I just thought I don't think they offered much at all. So I would be, reminding my players that, it's a one-off, it's the Scottish Cup. I dare say they'll have a tidy wee support down there and a wee bit of pressure maybe on Sean Maloney because he is just in the door.
I'm surprised you said that. I thought they actually held the ball better, Ruffy. I thought, when you talk about teams that come to Celtic Park, and the possession, as you always mention as well, is usually up at 65-70 to the home side. I mean, Rangers can come to Celtic Park and easily hold the ball for a long period of time. The last team last season that I can remember that did it was Dundee United, who actually came with a plan to actually make a game of it. But I thought Hibs held the ball. I agree with Tam on the point that I thought, apart from Nisbet's chance, they didn't really offer any real cutting edge in the final third.
No, I think that was Maloney summing up. He was happy when his team had possession up to a certain bit of the park, but in the latter third, that it just seemed to fall to bits. They only had about 2 chances. But apart from that, he'll be pleased that they didn't get there and get overrun. I mean, Celtic were the better side and could have scored another 2 or 3, but at the end of the day, it's a different proposition against Cove Rangers. Cove Rangers are 2 divisions away. Yeah. He will get a wee shock when he looks at the Cove Rangers team because they are littered with Premier League players. Yes. Paul Hartley has, looked at the situation and brought players there that he's seen or been with or whatever, and they are. And the wee boy Megson up front is a goal scorer, so he'll be a danger to them.
Yeah, it's on the telly tonight, Tom.
Yeah, but it's on the BBC Scotland channel, I think. Yeah. So I'll tune into that, and it's one no a wee wager on. Talking of betting earlier, it's fine for gentlemen like us, but it's one I'll stick a wee bet in that and then settle down and watch it. Quite looking forward to it. It's just that again, it's the freshness. Even though Peter, the top flight had been off there for a few weeks. As great as it is to have it back, there's always that wee extra bit about the Scottish Cup when you get to play different teams and you see different players and you maybe even for the fans that Motherwell, for example, have been in the top flight every year now since season 84-85. It's a long time, and in recent years, if the fans have had a chance to travel to a different ground and see a different town, see a different stadium, it's brilliant, and that's the magic for me, the Scottish Cup, and I'm really looking forward to it. I know we'll come to the Motherwell game later, but I think the good people of Greenock are going to come up to Motherwell in their numbers. I'm looking forward to seeing him into the bring.
Dan has just said it's on the telly. 3-1 to Hibs. He thinks Andrew Breslin thinks maybe 3-0 or 3-1 to Hibs, and he's also said Hibs are 1-10. Just as a...
Well, that's good for a wee. I'll happily have a tenner on Colvin night.
Yeah, okay. So that's the game that we'll be watching tonight, unless, of course, you're going to watch Liverpool-Arsenal, Ruffy. That's another option.
That cup thing.
Yeah, the second replay. It's not really worth it.
Reserves.
Yeah, EFL Cup. Yeah, it's not really worth it.
Watch Hibs Cove Rangers.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
BBC,
for God's
43
sake.
pence a day. That's all it costs for a licence.
Yeah. Brilliant. Hey, have they got you on a campaign? Is there an email?
No.
Yeah, it's one of those things. The last couple of days, I actually thought, and I saw the questioning of the freeze, Ruffy, and how people might.
Yeah, I saw the way it was all broke down.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, BBC does a really good job, a lot of good job. I think it's something, an organisation we should be proud of.
And if you support Aberdeen, you'd get in there.
If I did.
You never. I still think I think you'd be looking more at Motherwell. There's a lot of Motherwell fans now.
Yeah, where?
In the BBC.
And the BBC,
absolutely.
Boil your head. They're not on. They're not on.
The only Aberdeen ones: Richard Gordon, Willie Miller,
Liam
McLeod,
Rob McLean.
Oh no, I thought he was Ross County. He's Heart of Hearts.
Away and
Yes.
He's Aberdeen as well.
Right, shall we analyse PLZ?
Well, he's
Partick
Thistle legend.
Right.
You know, I was brought up a Celtic fan.
I was brought up as well. Choice.
I did have a choice.
McManus.
Stay in the house or leave.
McManus.
Dan McManus is a Hibby.
Hugh McDonald.
He's a Celtic man.
Allison.
Alison worked for Celtic. Charlie. He's a Dundee fan.
Right, there we
Daisy. He's a Rangers fan.
That's good.
Anybody else?
I think you've been through them.
I think we've done them all. It's not a crime to be a fan of someone.
No, not at all. And for folk
I think
as
it's
well,
a crime. I'll tell you what's a crime.
not saying who you support. That's a crime in my book.
Yeah, well, no. What is a crime, Tam, is if you are a professional in the game,
Right.
and you sell your soul.
All right.
It was the first thing ever as a journalist going into radio and television that a couple of people that I respected said, you know, you're there to do a job and to tell a story and to offer at times an opinion if you're into punditry and you're writing in a newspaper column, which I have over a period of time. You've done it yourself. If you're writing a column, you have got to be a professional.
You've got to be honest.
The minute you pander to a team that you support, it's like a referee, the game's up.
I've said it for day one with me in my career, whether it was the telly, the radio, newspaper. Whenever Motherwell gets a mention from me, I've got to make sure that is absolutely spot on, so that when I then edge into row D and the Phil O'Donnell stand to take my seat again next to my pals, I don't want them saying, what was that you were on about?
Yeah.
About the club or about that. That's not what everybody else thinks, you know. So you've absolutely got to be focused and say it like it is. And sometimes I've had experiences of that in the past, and it'd be the late great John Swinburne at Motherwell, who became good pals and all the rest of it. But in the early days of me in newspapers, it wasn't several times he would put a wee bit about me in at the programme, Tam Clown and things like this, and then because I'd had a go at the club, but I felt, particularly as a season ticket holder, I was more than within my rights to have a wee dig.
Yeah, as ever, we like to read out, some of the people who post messages on our feed. We're trying now to actually avoid reading out any of the nonsense. Andrew Davison says, listen, Peter, you're going about the Scottish League, so don't knock the English League Cup. Come on, the Liverpool. Well, if England and my second team was Liverpool because of Kenny Dalglish when I was a boy, Liverpool-Arsenal is a good game to watch tonight. I'm not being defensive about it, but Hibs Cove Rangers is something that we cover on a regular basis, Scottish football, so that's why.
And you know what I love as well? There is absolutely no danger that Sean Maloney will be thinking, it's Cove Rangers. We can rest some players tonight. You know, we'll put out a second string. Absolutely no way.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, there's a game coming up as well. We're going to talk about a few of these games, Tam. Try and get through as many of them as possible. Hibs Cove Rangers is the one. Here's some of the fixtures. The first, there's more than a few going on, but here's Hibs against Cove Rangers. There's Rangers Stirling Albion, Auchinleck Talbot Hearts, Aberdeen Edinburgh City, Arbroath Darvel, and Ayr United against St Mirren. If anything, Ruffy, Auchinleck Talbot Hearts, you're always looking, you think Darvel, Arbroath. Is there a wee shocker in that first set of fixtures?
No, I mean...
Ayr St Mirren?
Auchinleck will be a fantastic atmosphere. having been down there with the juniors, 2,000-3,000 in that pitch. It's just so close and so tight. So the Hearts players will be in for a wee eye-opener when they go into the dressing room, because it'll not be the quality that they're usually in and the pitch and everything, but it'll be a day for them to remember, and Auchinleck I'll certainly give them a game for it. They'll have to be up for it, because they've had a few scalps themselves, Ayr United and the likes, but I can't see a shock.
No.
Can't see a shock. I can't. Darvel again are now the club in Ayrshire, you know, who are throwing the money about. You know, they've got a lot of ex-pros, ex-professional players there. So,
and they're on a winning streak.
And they're on a winning streak.
John Gall just won the World Pie Championship. He's the boss at Browning's, the bakery, down in Kilmarnock to do the Killie Pie now.
Yeah.
You know, so he's put a lot of money into Darvel. He is still, I think, a Killie man in his heart of hearts, but he's put a load into Darvel. And then the intriguing thing for me about this fixture, Arbroath against Darvel, is it normally, Arbroath have suddenly become the wee cuddly toy of Scottish football. Once upon a time it was Partick Thistle, you know, but everybody's on about Arbroath, what a great job, part-timers, top of the league, But suddenly they're like the big bad guys now, because we Darvel are coming up to Gayfield Park and try to cause an upset. It's a fascinating game. Yeah. It's a really fascinating game.
Well, I think Robbie Nielsen mentioned today, you know, cup shocks definitely on the cards. They can happen.
I think it happens in every league in every country, to be honest with you. You know, this is the opportunity for lower league teams to play against, you know, the higher league teams. So, yeah, it happens, you know, as you saw last week down in England, and it happens up here, you know. So we need to make sure that we're ready for it.
Yeah, cup shocks. I can always remember, Ruffy, good cup shocks that you think down through the years. Clyde knocking out Celtic with Roy Keane. Yeah. I also remember Hamilton Accies knocking out Graham Souness's Rangers. Yeah, Adrian Sprott.
I remember.
Aberdeen.
It was switched, it wasn't it? We can't claim it was we couldn't even claim we were away. But Motherwell 0, Albion Rovers 1. You remember that? Stuart McCall's time in charge as well. Yes. And at the time, I've argued to this day, when everybody talks about Berwick Rangers, and then you look at Celtic Clyde, certainly in terms of league positions, I actually think Motherwell 0, Albion Rovers 1 would, pound for pound, be the biggest shock in Scottish football, because at that time, mind that great team under Stuart McCall, right? Yeah. Motherwell were second top in the Premier League, right? Albion Rovers were second bottom of the bottom division in Scotland. So in terms of league placings, that was a shock and a half.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stenhousemuir had won with Aberdeen.
Aberdeen, yeah. Tommy Steele made his name.
The thing, mate. And there was, I was going to say it was Auchinleck, but there was a junior team went to Tynecastle, and it was a draw.
Oh, yeah.
Right up until the last kick of the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Auchinleck.
I think it was Auchinleck.
Was it? Maybe.
I think they were denied a penalty. And I remember I'll tell you about that, I remember no, why was it? No, it's because I would have asked him, given his Ayrshire roots, I remember asking Billy Dodds about that. Yeah. Because you're always looking, you know how when it gets a correct score, when it gets into the ridiculous numbers, 8, 9s and 10s, the odds are obviously huge, you know what I mean? And I mind...
Is that Billy Dodds who played for Aberdeen?
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to whom?
I'm just saying, you know, he was on the Beeb, played for Aberdeen.
Oh, right.
Association, and...
No, the other Dodds, because I remember, you'll remember her as well, STV news girl, news reporter. She moved through to STV in Edinburgh, Heather Kane.
Yes, I know Heather, she's a great girl.
Heather with, I think, Cat Harvey and Jane Lewis were out at the dancing one night. And Billy Dodds, do you know that story?
No, but I was wondering where you were going.
No, it's fine. But Billy Dodds was at the bar or whatever, right? And Heather, unlike Jane and Kat, didn't really know about the football, you know. Yeah. But for hearing about the name Dodds, she knew the name Dodds not. Yeah. So Heather Kane, with a drink now, was going up to Billy Dodds and going, hey, elephant man. And Billy's that, you know. So Billy's clearly thinking, is she just going on about my lungs? You know, are you an African Billy Dodds or an Asian Billy Dodds with the ears? But she thought she'd only heard the name Dodds, and that's all it meant to her in football. Yeah. Was Davy Dodds, you know. You know, but there we go. Where do you think that story was going?
But I don't know. As soon as I heard those three.
Billy Dodds said to me, because I knew him with his Cumnock past and all the rest of it, upbringing, he'd know about the juniors. So I just happened, I'd bumped into him and I was going to put a bet in that game. I said, what do you reckon? And Billy said to me, and I put it on, he says, Carts will win that about 9-0. And that was my bet in that game. And you're right, Auchinleck played a blinder. They may have parked the bus, who knows, and it was 0-0 for ages. And then I think Hearts only sneaked at 1-0. We need to look that up next chance you get.
Andrew Taggart says it was 2017 Auchinleck versus Hearts.
Right.
So thanks for that, Andrew, because we were wondering there. You're absolutely right. Cup shocks can happen. Of course, the first piece of silverware that's been on offer is at Celtic. They've won the League Cup. And speaking today, Carol Starfelt, he reckons even Alloa Celtic and the road to Hampden, Celtic are on the hunt for even more trophies.
One of the reasons many players come here and they come to this club in the hope to win stuff. And now we won our first trophy here. So of course we are hungry for more, and it's the best feeling to win games, but especially to win trophies. We will do our best to keep doing that.
I think the Celtic PR team need to have a word with him about that top he was wearing.
Well, I've got a TMI. It just took me back to that's why my Uncle Rab looked. Every year we went down to the caravan at Irvine. It was always a tap like that.
Ruffy, I kid you not, this is in God's honest truth. He's talking about McCoy's. I turned up in a Liverpool top just like that to play the fives, and they slaughtered me. I absolutely, for 5 minutes, they made me the butt of the joke.
Start? When did these tops come in?
Usually wear that training top with something underneath it as well, Ruffy, don't you? Do you?
No, probably you see a lot of the guys up in the gym.
Pumping iron.
For weightlifting and all that kind of stuff.
For the benefit of our podcast, it's a t-shirt without any arms on it, and it's not looking the best.
You can get away with it. If you're in Florida, we could get away with walking about with one of them on.
And remind me, what are the wee boob tube bra hangs for as well under their jerseys when they play? What do they do?
Heart monitor. It monitors your everything about your running. How many steps you've taken, where you've actually ran to, and the pitch.
Do you find them quite sexy?
No,
there they are.
No, but the boy Alan Russell lives off them because Alan, who works up at Aberdeen,
we see the ex-male model. He did a bit of modelling.
He plays for Airtrade. He was actually, I think he won Player of the Year in the First Division. I remember interviewing him. Alan's a good lad, but
involved in the England setup.
Yes, and he does all they monitor all of the stats that come out of wearing this little bit of kit, because basically the game has changed dramatically, Ruffy. Alan's the type of guy who would say, look, this heat map is showing you where you're running to if you were a striker. This is where you're running to 90% of the time. This is where the ball's ending up because of the way we play. Make runs here. This is how much your heart rate's going, and this is your stamina over a period of time. It's incredible. Whereas before, in Ruffy's day, right, let's get out there and enjoy the game and score goals.
No, Ruffy wanted a monitor on his chest, but the Johnny came out and hunted him.
I was going to tell the true story that I did have a monitor, but I don't know. I told you that story about.
Prefects, you called them our monitors.
Oh, it's mental.
What was it, your school?
Oh, it's prefects.
Prefects.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, that is brilliant.
The monitors were always in 6th there.
Yeah,
I just thought I better put in that wee disclaimer.
Anyway, that's absolutely brilliant, Tam. That's the first set that we looked at in the fixtures. Here's the second card of fixtures. I don't think anybody...
You haven't picked an upset. You've got to pick a banana skin.
No,
I've gone Cove Rangers tonight, so you need
there's no chance Cove. Hibbies are going to win tonight, Ruffy. I'm not having that. Are you having it from the first one, by the way? I think if there's going to be a shock, it's Ayr United against St Mirren. Can we see the second one again? I'm sorry to our producer because we're too busy talking, but Banks City against Wraith Rovers, Clydebank Annan, Dumbarton Dundee, Kelty Hearts St Johnstone, Kilmarnock Dundee United, Livingston Ross County. I am going to stick my neck out and say Kelty Hearts.
Right, aye. Yeah, I know, and St Johnstone won 8 straight defeats now. Their confidence will be rock bottom. Kelty Hearts are clearly the worst of teams. I think for that page though there, Peter, I'm looking the great Clydebank story. I'm trying to think who they put out in the last round, but it was who was it again? But it was a senior. It was a senior side that they put in the last round. They're now at home to Annan, and the bottom line is, see if Clydebank did beat Annan, you're not going to fall out your armchair. And it's a wee bit like you saying Ayr United St Mirren. Would that really be a shock?
Yeah.
If Ayr United beat St Mirren?
Well, Hugh Scott's just said there, he says, Peter, the shock will be Celtic knocking out the cup holder St Johnstone. I think Hugh's in my camp with this. It is. It's on the cards. I mean, Celtic, they are offering money and signing,
players.
League One, League Two players, good players as well, or players that have been over the course who have experience.
Yeah, the back, they've got the boy we had, Tam Aware, who now injury free, is playing well. Joe Cardle, scoring regularly. The boy up front, Nathan Austin, who came for Inverness, is scoring barrel loads in that division. So you're right, that for me could be the big. And Higginbottom's there as well.
Carol Higginbottom.
Yeah, him was at Motherwell.
Aye.
He's there as well.
So
they've got a few tried and trusted players there. So this is a big night.
We've seen this before. It could just as easy St Johnstone run out 3-0. We have seen this scenario before. Every day it's like that. We've got the cloaks on, like the Grim Reaper, and you're looking at St Johnstone and looking at their recent record. But
he gets beat, do you sack him? St Johnstone.
Oh, there's a question, Ruffy. Do you know what? No, I don't think you do. I think Callum's had a few things that have kind of derailed him along the way. Some players I think he'll look at and think they haven't really stepped up to the plate. But I would look and say to myself, if I was the St Johnstone board, I would just say to him, look, your remit is just get us out of this position in the league. Forget the cups. Concentrate on the league. You've etched yourself in history with the 2 cups. Nobody will ever take that away from you. There's 2 weeks to go. Even if we lose to Celtic Hearts, here's some money. Here's a couple of players to get in. Get us away from even the playoff place. Which is still achievable.
I was just throwing out the question, but I think if you win 2 cups, you're due a bit of time.
Absolutely.
If you've won two of the national cups, you've deserved to get.
You're not saying that somebody, a higher up team, like if it'd been an Aberdeen or Hibs or whatever, where they'd won 2 cups and then they went to run 8 defeats. You'd get folk starting asking questions. But this is St Johnstone we're talking about, and it was only a year ago. But you know what, Peter, the St Johnstone fans, they're like fans of any other club. They're not exactly enjoying the run they're on now. There has been a few murmurs from the St Johnstone fans. They're no best pleased, obviously, just now. And if they lost to Celtic Hearts and gave up the Scottish Cup, having already surrendered, of course, the League Cup, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Callum.
Yeah. Well, there will be a lot of pressure, but I like him, and you don't like to see a manager lose his job, and certainly I think he's well worthy of time. Over and above that,
He's got a great choice in lunch establishments as well, like me. I've told you about it before, but I don't know you've been. Gloagburn Farm, Tibbermore, just outside Perth. Kind of working farm, great food, great deli, great shop. I think the last 3 times I've been up now, Callum has been sitting there having his lunch on the laptop like you, maybe looking at players, whatever it might be. Yeah. Lovely place, you must go, Ruffy.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm just about to look at the final card to see if there's any shocks in this one.
Ruffy's no picked an upset yet.
Celtic.
Motherwell,
Greenock Morton, Partick Thistle Airdrie, Peterhead East Kilbride, Alloa Celtic. I think Airdrie's screaming out at me.
Airdrie, they're in a good run. Airdrie in great form now, absolutely.
And with Ian McCall screaming out for 3 or 4 players that he hasn't had from the board, it's a real chance of a shock, isn't it?
Pitch is awful. They've not invested. They were happy to take 50 quid a week for Queen's Park. It's a ploughed field. No, I think just on actual forum, Airdrie, I'm saying about the fans that I hope Morton will bring up for Greenock. I want Airdrie back up in the so-called big time. I really miss the jousts with Airdrie that Motherwell once had.
You want Airdrie in the top flight?
Absolutely, and they're motoring the now.
Artificial surface.
They've got a lot of confidence now. Well, maybe top flight would give them the money to address that, but they're in a great wee run now, and I wouldn't be getting further confidence.
Will you be excited to play them if you come down into the Championship?
No. I never want that. Never ever want that.
Absolutely. Listen, talking of excitement, the cup shocks always provide you with those moments, magical moments. I automatically at this point think of cup shocks, and I think of Ronnie Radford for Hereford in a ploughed field, hits one against Newcastle, a Newcastle side that had Malcolm McDonald in it.
Yeah. Was that right? Oh,
yes.
I didn't know that detail.
Oh, yes. Right. And this was a side and a half. And Hereford, with an unbelievable cup shock on the day. And you see that, by the way, as soon as the ball hits the back of the net, not 20, the entire stand just spill onto the park, all cheering.
They ruined the
all
park
mental.
when they came on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I now I'm going to read out the Ross County statement regarding the fans celebrating.
I thought you were kidding on.
No, I'm going to read a statement.
Oh,
They've issued a statement here, which is the club has seen a worrying new trend at recent games when both home and away fans have been involved.
Sorry, I'm still laughing at Trend and Dingwall.
Always have been involved in minor pitch incursions. Clearly such behaviour contravenes the club code of conduct, and while some may take the view that this is harmless exuberance, we do not agree. Yes, he's talking about you, Tam, here. So he says, we would like to remind those who indulge in this type of behaviour that such conduct may be a criminal offence and could lead to court action. We will now be taking a zero tolerance approach to this issue, and supporters who come into the trackside or come onto the trackside will be ejected from the stadium and will be banned from the club. Well,
the kids in tears as we speak.
Well, I was going to say to you, Rafi, listen, no matter what way we look at this, we would get pelters from the do-gooders to the people who maybe look at the view and say, I looked at them, they were not interested in trouble. No. It was a goal, 10 men against Motherwell, and there was maybe, their average age was about 15 or 16, and then they went straight back into the stands.
I would say younger than that.
Maybe.
Maybe it's in here, maybe it's a kids club or something like that. What they've done is just put more stewards up.
Exactly.
They know what it's going to happen. They know where it's going to happen in the stadium. So just put extra stewards there to stop it.
The pictures, listen up, you can't condone, if it's breaking a law, then for God's sake, some people are obviously going to suffer the consequences from the police, but I must admit it didn't look anything.
The
only word that just I didn't like there was, again, it's a word that popped up with, and I remember from Hibernian, was the exuberance. Because I have to tell you, the Rangers Hibs one was not exuberance. It was scary. That could have been a major flashpoint. Speaking from a guy who was at the Scottish Cup final in 1980 when Rangers and Celtic fans exchanged bottles on each other. I'll never forget. There are two games in life that I've been scared being at. One of them was, Rangers Celtic in that game when Celtic won through a deflection. George McCluskey scored.
Right.
And the other one was the Hugh Dallas game. And I was in the press box and it was scary. That was a game where it was volatile to say the least.
I still recall it outside Fir Park, the Skippy Sunday, when Scott McDonald denied Celtic the league, of course, before moving on to Celtic, and very quickly scoring a hat-trick against Motherwell. But, the atmosphere outside Fir Park that day was really, really horrible. Because there's no doubt the Celtic crowd that had, there were Celtic fans everywhere on the ground that day, and they'd clearly come for a party. We had a bit of a ragbag team, a ragtail, bobtail, whatever I'm trying to say here, team. But you know what I mean. But it was, we'd guys in it like Jerry Britton and wee Mickey Weir and all that, because we'd just come out of administration. Yeah. And so it was as if we weren't meant to celebrate that. And as I say, if you're a Motherwell fan, and that Motherwell's a great example here in clubs of that size, if you play Celtic or Rangers, particularly in your own patch, and you beat them, that's a time to savour and enjoy. We weren't meant to sit back and applaud Celtic and good luck with the league. Nonsense.
Thanks.
Scariest game has to be Iran. When they scored.
Aye.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you didn't call your near post, did you? Anyway.
Is that phrase I was scrambling for earlier about a
Ragtag bobtail.
Ragtail bobtail.
Ragtail. Right, there we go.
Anyway, Craig Campbell says, you don't need to rush the pitch to celebrate when your team scores, though, do you? Well, Craig...
Listen, boys.
There
was no fights.
Daniel says...
They weren't encouraging the Motherwell fans to run on for the other end. They didn't attack any of the Motherwell players. It was young boys enjoying themselves.
Daniel says, a friendly pitch invasion never hurt no one. Anyway, it's one of those things. If you can't celebrate a goal with your own fans these days, lots of people have their own take on this one, including, I think there was one there which was basically... it was a great day that day at Rangers when Hugh Dallas. Wasn't a great day when the guy came off the top tier and claimed he was going for a pie.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't jump off the top tier unless it's a Kelly pie.
Yes.
Which is probably...
Although it did stem the great joke, if you recall, when he got that boy stretchered away. Mind us, he was going to...
I know.
He was getting it that, and then in the hospital later, he's lying there in the bed, and the nurse comes out and says, have you seen the surgeon? He says, I never even saw the first one.
Yeah.
Just scored that day.
It was 3-0.
Yeah.
I think...
it was just horrible. It was absolute. And that, I can still... And that's where... Actually, that maybe a lot of that stems from me backing referees as vehemently as I do, because you'll never forget that image of Hugh Dallas just halfway bent down, then kneeling down, and then... As he realised his head was gushing with blood, and then folks still have the audacity of it to have a go at referees, and they put themselves through that.
I remember Stephen May had a terrible tackle in the corner. I think it's one of those tackles where you actually start walking and don't wait for the card. But it was a mental game. Just totally aside from that, I want to wish David Weir all the best. He's been promoted to the role of Assistant Technical Director with Brighton and Hove Albion. Davey was a good lad, great player. Hearts, Everton, Rangers.
Falkirk
as well. Great shout. Known him all down through the years, so let's hope Davey does well there.
And what did you say the latest does with the Everton job? Because I was shouting for Big Dunk, but you reckon Wayne Rooney's sniffing about as well?
I think Rooney. I think now that Martinez is getting the block, I mean, Duncan's got a great chance for a couple of weeks, but I think Duncan's already said to them before he doesn't want it. I don't think he's...
It remains to be seen if he gets a taste for it.
Yeah.
If he was to get a couple of wins under his belt and all the fans all get behind him and he's a big hero down there, he might just say, well, I fancy it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to say this to you, Ruffy, just before we finish. I'm a big Ronaldo fan. I know I'd probably get it in the neck for this. I love Messi. I love Ronaldo because I think he gets short shrift from a lot of people because of his arrogance and how he pouts about. But I certainly wouldn't think, and I wouldn't like to think that his agents and the people his entourage are demanding they must qualify for Champions League or he'll be off.
It's ridiculous. I
know he's at the twilight of his career, but he has won the Champions League, 4 times.
Exactly. And it goes without saying the money that he'll be on there. The deal that they'd have got with merchandise and sponsorships and all the rest. Man United haven't exactly done anything to upset him, and he's maybe going to inspire his teammates a wee bit more and get them up into a Champions League. But if they, and what's he saying anyhow? I mean, if he doesn't get into the Champions League, he might be for the off. So in England now, what do you need to finish? 12th, maybe?
Exactly. For European football, I know it's brilliant. Listen, we've had a lot of fun, great stories, Tam. I thoroughly enjoyed your company today. You've made a very stressful day, Ruffy, enjoyable. I hope he's done that for most of the people who watch the show as well. Don't forget, you can get it on the podcast as well. So if there's times when you're going out for a walk and you just want to walk around smiling and laughing and people think you're off your head, then by all means download the podcast. You can download the PLZ Soccer app, and that allows you to listen to the podcast or indeed watch the programme as well. It's got some great things there. Our journalist Craig Vickers has done Scottish Cup shocks, a look at 8 of the biggest shocks, and of course he's got Inverness Cali, Super Cali Go Ballistic in there. So if you want to, you can look at that, and you can also in submissions, post messages to us and we get to read them out immediately on the show. So the PLZ Soccer app is well worthy of your consideration. But the last thing before we go, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell and you'll get all the notifications, and you can join us on Peter and Ruffy's Football Show, sponsored by Indigo Communications. Thanks to Tam, thanks to Ruffy, and from myself, Peter Martin. We'll see you tomorrow.